yeah, we did that, but don't worry. Some people have a harsh relationship. Sometimes the parts of ourselves, one wants to go to church and the other one wants to do what? To stay home in the bed. And, there's a relationship. So even though I said definition, relationship is a pattern of behavior between two or more people, really, you can also have a relationship itself. But today we are talking about the one between two people. And then what is relationship success? In psychology, in the field of couple, marriage, and family therapy, which, by the way, is an independent profession in the US, and we are thinking, initially I was like, why do they make it an independent profession? Do we really need another profession? But the field is so deep and so wide that psychology is so deep and so wide that they have found it necessary to create an independent profession with courses that you have to do to become expert in it. Anyway, in that field, we say that it's about satisfaction. It's about the meeting of needs. If people's needs are not met in a relationship, whatever the relationship is for, then that's not a successful relationship. The other thing is about solving problems. If you cannot solve the problems that will arise in your relationship, that relationship is not successful. So relationship success is about having a high degree of satisfaction. So for example, if you're married, I think there's some married people here and there's some unmarried people. How many unmarried do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very few. 8, 9. Some people like Jesse didn't put up their hands. Are you married? Okay, we have quite a few unmarried people, but it seems like the majority of you are married. So I'm going to use a lot of examples from marriage. The unmarried, please forgive me. But yeah, for example, in a marriage, what is a successful marriage? If you talk to a husband and he is happy and the wife isn't happy, that is not success. But if you talk to the wife, she's happy, she's satisfied. Whatever she needed from the marriage, she's getting. And whatever the man needed from the marriage, she's getting. We call that success. So success looks different for different people. As long as your needs are getting met, yours, somebody else's, yours, that is success. And as long as problems are getting solved, that is success. So many times when we are assessing couples, we have an assessment tool, and it's about satisfaction. How satisfied? If I was to ask you to now, right now, write down on a scale of 0 to 10, how satisfied are you with your marriage? Can you give a number? You don't have to say it here, but can you give a number in your heart? Huh? You have to know that number. And then when we do one, you check, is that number getting better? Is it getting worse? You can write that down for yourself somewhere. Now, before we talk about successful ones, sometimes it helps to compare and contrast. What is an unsuccessful one? And I'm going to give you a few red flags that show that you are dissatisfied. Maybe you're dissatisfied and you don't even know it. When you see blame in a relationship, many times that is a red flag. He did, she is doing, he whatever, but even if it's employee-employer, high staff do not blame is a good indicator that the relationship isn't working. I don't know if in your heart now, you can see where you've been blaming your partner. If you don't have blame, please put up your hand. No complaints. Perfect. Most of us have something somewhere here, you see her, but he works too much. But she doesn't spend enough time with the children, A bit of blame. Usually a symptom, it's a symptom that there's some dissatisfaction. I could be very blunt about these things, but we are in church, so I don't know whether you want me to keep things. Who likes blunt here? Like, tell things as they are, Bachiga. We have Evelyn and 2, 3 people, and the rest want me to keep it diplomatic. Let me keep it diplomatic. There are other red flags of marriage, marriage dissatisfaction. One of them is criticism. When you find yourself criticizing, whether outwardly or inwardly, you know that some people don't criticize outward. They just keep quiet. But that quietness speaks volumes, maybe as much. And criticism is verbally attacking a person's character. It isn't saying that, oh, you are late today. It is saying, you're always late. What's wrong with you? You're basically saying that that person is defective. They are flawed. Something is wrong with them, with how they are, essentially. When you get to that stage of thinking, you've even written the person off, that's a red flag for a relationship. Maybe something isn't working. Then another one is contempt. And I find it hard sometimes to grasp this concept myself, but let me share with you, I'll try to share with you how I've understood it. So insulting another from a place of superiority. In Luganda, we say okunyoma. You know that word? Yeah. When you start to okunyoma, all of you, and you do this, that is contempt. When you get to a place of contempt, be afraid. Namushiga in me is coming out, telling you as it is. Then defensiveness. This is a counter attack to reverse blame. So somebody comes and tells you, oh, you're not spending time with the children. But even you don't help me. You see, if you had helped me. And that instead of like, oh, I don't spend enough time with the children, and then you address the issue, counter-attacking and saying the other person also doesn't do something. That's defensiveness. I'm not ready to engage what you've brought. I am going to attack you also and then to withdraw. I hope you guys understand Luganda and I'm not leaving you behind. All right. Then there's stonewalling. This is when you see withdrawal from interaction and creating of distance. Another red flag. People who, they don't engage the matter. You bring a problem and they walk out of the room or they cross their hands. You talk. Have you seen those ones? Stonewalling. Another red flag. So when a couple comes into my session and I start listening and they're talking and I'm hearing these red flags, oh, okay, we're in trouble. We're really, really in trouble. And then you know that you really have to up the ante, get ready to really do some work here. The relationship is in distress. And sometimes the interesting thing is the couple will come in smiling and it can fool you. Couples are good at fooling. We are good at fooling one another, good at looking good on Sabbath, looking like everything's honky-dory. Don't ask me how I know. Been married 24 years, so there's a possibility that I've been among those acting. So, but relationship problems, I don't know if you can see this slide very well. It looks blurry to me. Relationship problems affect us on many levels. And this is one of the reasons why I think that the couple, marriage, and family is becoming an independent profession, is because many people who are coming in citing depression, citing anxiety, citing whatever, when you look closely, it is relationship failure. It's relationship failure either from childhood, relationship failure currently, relationship failure at work. And we are seeing that actually, if we just focused on relationships, it would solve many of the world's problems. And so I'm so glad that your church is taking a whole afternoon to consider relationship success. I'll just point out these levels that relationship problems do bring us emotional problems like anxiety, anger, depression. You feel dysregulated, that you may be experiencing a lot of turmoil and inner, just that angst, up and down. You're not settled within your relationship. Some people tell me when my spouse is coming back home, I tense up. I tense up, and when they speak, and the inner self is not at peace. What I'd like us to work towards by the end of this talk is for you to understand when you're, when you're in turmoil, and to understand that there is a journey to peace. You can make the journey to peace, and hopefully I'll give you one or two things that will help you journey to peace, including my book. I've written a book in there that can help you journey a little bit towards peace. I write my own story of finding inner peace in marriage, but also I give you some of the thinkings behind relationship success. Secondly, behavior. Relationship problems can be seen in behavior. If you're lacking sleep, you're restless, if you see aggression, if you see silent treatment, all that, it's affecting, the relationship starts to affect your behavior. And then the relationship can affect your thoughts. So sometimes you find we are suspicious. I want to check his phone. Where did he go? What is she doing? Who is she with? And you develop suspicion. Your thought process is being affected by the relationship. Feeling insecure. Is he checking her out? Is he not? I don't know if people here do that. Or maybe we are holy and righteous. And those things were banished from us. And then mistrust, the thinking sometimes is affected. And even how you see things can be affected. And all these things there's enough research now to prove that they lead us to physical illnesses like stress, hypertension, even things like diabetes and whatnot, because your body is spending so much energy creating stress hormones. It's not doing the work of removing toxins. It's not doing the work of repairing your body. It's not doing the work of mending and repairing your brain. And so it leaves toxins hanging around, and your ability to fight disease declines. So it's leading us to a lot of physical illness. So if a church group really focused on relationship success, it is worth your while. Whatever little investment you can put in to have happier marriages, happier relationships, you will live longer, children will be happier, your investments are likely to be better, your decisions better, your businesses will work better. It is a great investment. If you can do one thing going forward, invest in understanding how to get relationship success. So there are problems we face when we are individuals, and there are problems you face because you're in a relationship, a marriage. What are some of those problems that are unique to relationships? Now I'm opening the floor. What are some of the problems we face in relationship? Yes. Withdrawal, emotional withdrawal. Yeah. That's a problem. Now let us not talk as Basao. Let us talk as general. Yes. Thank you, though. Communication. Yes. Communication gaps. Okay, that is the most cited thing. When couples come, that's the master problem. Communication. That is the number one thing that they cite. So thank you for that. What else? Yes? Financial challenges. That is another big one. In the US, they say that is the biggest cause of divorce. But I'd put a question mark because some of the research is showing us other things. But that is the one that is cited, financial challenges. We are not sharing money, or he has too much, or he has too little, those types of things. She doesn't let me see hers, but she wants me to show her mine. Yes. Infidelity. Infidelity, that one is, I don't know whether it's a pandemic. In Africa, or an epidemic, or it is endemic. Actually, it's endemic, I think, in our culture. Yeah. Well, there's even terms to say that, hey, what did you expect? Huh? But, and for me, I'm passionate about infidelity. My PhD, I think I will devote some of the time to studying infidelity and root it out, and go understand it. Some of my friends say, they are scholars like you, they say that perhaps men were supposed to have polygamy. Yes, but don't worry, I am not taking you away from your Christian faith. I'm a Christian myself, but it's good to sometimes listen to differing voices. What else? Let's have a couple more people. What problems do relationships face? Yes, sir. Managing in-laws. Yes, a huge one. You're a bold one, eh? We have at least I have some Telobashiga here. Yeah, that was a big one. Sometimes when we are doing practice in session, I tell people, bring a small problem, and then I warn them, don't bring the mother-in-law issue here because things may break loose. Yes? Oh, no, it is. I just, sometimes I'm teasing the client and saying, let's start with something small, not the mother-in-law issue, So, okay, what other one? Let's have one more. Yes, sir. Lack of openness. Okay, which is very sort of a lack of transparency, similar to something you said earlier, but yeah. Jesse had his hand up. I can't say no to that. Yes? And unhealthy competition, like the people in the relationship competing with each other. You're right. Macaronas are looking at each other here. This is a healthy relationship. Yeah, I know. No, he is not saying anything about his parents, by the way. So yeah, some people think that, that I am going to do a PhD because I'm trying to match up with a professor, and who knows, unhealthy competition. Thank you. Those are just a few of the problems going on. I've known of deep problems like loss of a child, and you grieve and you're not able to let your spouse into that pain. And somehow it drives a wedge between the couple and you see them drifting. There's so many problems. But we will get, okay, having tried to delineate the problems, at this stage, what do you think is the key to successful relationship? Many of you have been in a relationship, maybe even longer than me. Munyambeko, what do you think is the key? If there was one thing, yes, communication, okay? That's what she's thinking. One thing, transparency, okay? Yes. Say again. Unconditional love, okay? Anyone else? Yes? Focusing on your partner's needs more than yours. Okay. As they focus on yours. You don't want to be left behind. Huh? Yes, so there were many, many theories about what you should do. And in the past, the work of a marriage counselor was the hardest job because we had many theories about what is wrong. So the couple would come in and you're trying to be a financial advisor and teach them how to share finances. No, open one bank account, put all the money there, then separate it, and then your problems will be solved. This is how you communicate. When she speaks, repeat what she says, and then she also repeats what you say, so that communication is solved. What was the other thing we said is the key? Transparency, yeah, make sure the phone has no passwords, it is there. We have given tips and given tips and given tips, and marriages continue to fail. And then couples come into therapy and it's a minefield. They're so angry, so angry, and it seems like you're doing no work. And the highest, we used to have the highest dropout rates. But some research has led us to a certain key, one key, just one little thing that I think all these things are trying to touch on, but they hadn't nailed yet. Which key is leading to couples staying in therapy and completing, and it's also leading to satisfaction that lasts long after you've left therapy. So, what is that key? I'm not going to tell you immediately, but I'm going to slowly reveal. So, a long time ago, there was a man called John Bolby in 1958. John Bolby actually was not born in 1958, he was born much earlier. He's a British aristocrat, British aristocratic family. And in British aristocratic families, kids are not looked after by the parents. The parents have governesses, please, to look after the children. So the children don't get a lot of contact time with parents. So John Bolby was raised by a governess. The governess sees to your education, sees that you're properly dressed for dinner. It's a rich family. And so they have a certain way things are done. So in this setting, John Bolby became very attached to his governess. The governess played the role of a mother. And then at some age, the governess is sent away because governess, Mukozi, they're not a member of the family, even though the child doesn't know that. So when the governess was sent away, John Bolby was bereft. He was very, very sad. He felt that loss. The parents didn't understand. Anyway, he's sent off to boarding school at 7, and when he goes there, he studies very well. He's very intelligent, becomes a medical doctor. And after being a medical doctor, he starts to go into the field of psychology. There's a lot of medical doctors that ended up there. So he focuses a lot on children, and he starts to develop a theory that children need a strong emotional bond with the person caring for them. And in order for them to thrive, they need this bond as much as they need the food, the clothing, the shelter. That these are it's a primary thing. It is not an extra or whatever. It's a primary thing. So he came up with this theory called attachment theory. And I know that this is a little bit of science, but there's a reason why I'm giving it to you. Because you're scholars, you're going to live here and go continue studying. Once I give you a little bit, I know you'll take it further and it will help you. So the main parts or the main principles of this theory are that, number one, we are pre-programmed to bond. That when you come out of your mother's womb like this, you are looking to bond. That there is a program written inside your mind to attach to another person. And that this is part of your plan to survive. Secondly, that we bond for comfort and pleasure. That a child, have I seen a baby around? Is anyone holding a baby? Yes. That child is seeking pleasure. The reason why they bond is to seek pleasure, is to seek care, is to seek comfort. Thirdly, that they want to be near the primary caregiver, that they don't want to be far. And if you separate them, that you'll see some distress, which is the point at the bottom. But anyway, that they'll use the primary caregiver as a base for exploration, you know? And that when they are threatened, when they're out exploring, and then they meet a lion, they will go back for comfort, and they'll go back when they are threatened, that this person becomes their safe haven. And that all these things are things that the child does for survival. That the program was written inside of a child for survival. So John Bolby started to say this thing about separating children from their parents, stop doing it. It is really dangerous for them. And he actually did studies where you have children who are in hospitals who are given access to their parents, and children who are in hospitals are not given access to parents. And those children who spent more time with the parents would get better, would get over their fevers, their wounds would heal, and they would be sent home. And then these ones would not do as well. So if there's anything, if you were to leave just now, you don't have time and you have to run home, go with that. That children need a lot of time. They need time. And that time is important for their development. Let me just say here, before going to the next slide, that the child develops an internal map or an internal structure, that something is built on the inside of them as they have contact time with the parent. A certain sense of security is built. But when they have more distance, that thing isn't developed, and that this is going to affect them later in adult life. So anyways, another scientist took this work and studied children. He took children between the age of 1 year to 1.5 years, 18 months to 12 months, 12 months to 18 months. And they studied these children in a room, and they would separate the children from their mothers, and they discovered that the children had 4 ways of reuniting with the mother. Actually, there were 3 ways at first of reuniting. That all the children were distressed when they were separated from the mother, and then when they were reunited, there were just 4 different behaviors. And I'm going to show you a little video to explain this. But first, I just want to explain it so that when you watch the video, you get it, because I don't know how clear it will be on here. So imagine that the child is separated from the mother, and the child is crying. When the mother comes in, there are children who went straight to the mother, were held by the mother, and they were comforted, and they calmed down quickly, and they went back to play. Those children were called secure children. And then there were children who, they came to the mother, and the mother tried to comfort them, but then they didn't become comforted. They remained, unhappy. They brought a toy, they were angry, no, push away the toy, and they remained clinging to the mother's skirt. That those children were called anxiously attached to the mother. They are anxious that she'll go again. They're anxious. And then, and this is important for adult love, so please pay attention. You may be wondering, why is she talking to us about babies? We came here to talk about marriage, But you're going to see the point later. As I said, I'm revealing slowly. Then the third type, they would come, they would see the mother, they were distressed, but when they see the mother, they kind of turn their back. Or if the mother picks them up, they refuse to maintain eye contact. And you can now see it with babies. There are babies who will refuse to give you eye contact, especially between the age of 12 to 18 months. And they say that these children were avoidant. And then many years later, they discovered a 4th type of attachment, where the child seemed a bit anxious and a bit avoidant. And they called this the disorganized attachment style. So I've mentioned 4 styles. The first one was secure. The second one, anxious. Is she going to go? Is she not going to go? The third one that turns the back, avoidant. And the 4th one, disorganized. They're coming, they're going, the behavior, the scientists were not sure which behavior is this one trying to show. So Yeah, this work was done by Mary Ainsworth, and I'm proud to say that she started out here in Mulago. It was done here by a British scientist, psychologist, and yeah, as you can see, the secure child is hugging the parent, the ambivalent or anxious child is wary of strangers, the avoidant one is hiding under the table, they hide behind the curtain, the disordered one is just confused, doesn't want the parents, doesn't want the teacher. But let's watch this small video, and I hope I'll have sound. Can you see?
I'm devastating for you. Shame, I feel. But she'll survive.
The key moment in the experiment is the child's reaction to her mother's return.
The important clue is whether the baby's able to become calmed down by the contact with the mother, get back to play. Sometimes it takes a couple of minutes. You see, when the mother was out, she was only interested in the mother, no interest in the toys. Now she has a contact with the mother. She's beginning to show a little interest in the environment, and shortly she'll be right back with the toys where we start.
So you would call this a secure one?
Yes.
Certainly much happier.
Goes to the door following her. Now, we sent the mother right back in. Now, the point here is not to distress the baby, just trying to challenge. The baby puts her hands to her face, sad expression, her face down. When she picks her up, she keeps her head down, her arms out, and then she sits in the chair holding the baby. The baby's still sullen. He's low key.
So you would call this insecure?
Yes, insecure. He's avoidant. He's not engaging her, and it's not the reunion's not effective. It's important to remember here that the thing that upset him was her absence. Her return should be the solution to his problem. Now this is another pattern that we see in babies who are not good at using their mother as a secure base at home. This baby is also insecure. But you'll see, we got a look at his play before the separation. Mother's left. When she returns, she picks him up. He can't calm down. He's still upset. She offers a toy to amuse him or to comfort him or to distract him, and he slaps it away. She offers another, he slaps it away. He's angry. We call these babies resistant or ambivalent because they both want her back and yet can't use the contact. We think that the difficulty is that in the past, when he sought comfort, she's been inconsistent as to whether she's available and responsive or not.
Yay, the technology worked. And I have another video for you because let me first show you this slide. Hey, what's going on? Yeah, it usually takes a few minutes. I want to just say that these babies were studied for many years, and then after that, scientists decided to follow them into adulthood to carry out longitudinal studies. And when they followed them over many years, they started to find that Those children who are secure mostly remain secure in adult love. Those who are anxious remained anxious in adult love, that type of thing. Some changed, especially those who had big traumas. Maybe you are secure, then you become avoidant. Maybe a mother dies or a father, or something happens. So there were some changes, but there was a high degree of consistency about how the child was and how they remained in adulthood. And so we started to understand adult love through these lenses. I am not sure what is going on. It's just the signal is not getting to the... Oh, thank you. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, so as you can see, I don't know if you can see under the plant, but that thing is in childhood, those were the four. The disorganized, I put it down because it was discovered by other scientists, not by Mary Ainsworth. And then in adulthood, that's the last column. So the secure children remain secure, or in adulthood, we see secure adults. Anxious children, in adulthood, we call it anxious preoccupied, because these are people who are in love. They are all constantly thinking about the relationship and their romantic part, constantly. That is preoccupation. And then the avoidance became dismissive avoidant, because a key factor of avoidance was, that's not important. No, you're overthinking. People who say that, I don't know if you've seen that, but they dismiss emotions. Then the disorganized end up being fearful avoidant. They are avoidant, but then the biggest thing about them is that they fear relationships. So people who are secure in relationship tend to be peaceful, calm, and enjoy their relationships. And then the anxious tend to be clingy, angry, protest for their needs to be met. Instead of asking nicely, hey, would you spend some time with me? Why don't you spend time with me? Why don't you, it's clingy, anxious. Then the dismissive avoidant is usually distant. They look aloof, as if they don't care, but deep inside, they're a little bit mistrustful that you will meet their needs. And lastly, the fearful avoidant, they're hot and cold. You cannot tell whether you're going to have a good day with them. Have a good day, bad day, it's up and down. So I wanted to show you a video that shows adult love. I just hope that, please.
Our deepest longing is to have stable, satisfying relationships. But the painful fact is that very large numbers of relationships have one painful episode after another, or seemingly intractable, miserable conflicts running through them. It's one of the biggest questions there is. Why is it so hard to be happy in love? The huge and not yet fully digested insight of psychoanalysis is that the challenges of relationships always start when we were children. You should have a great English psychoanalyst called John Bolby to trace the tensions and conflicts we have with our partners back to our earliest experiences of maternal care. His ideas are sound in part because he drew so deeply and honestly on his own experiences in order to formulate them. Born in 1907, Bolby had a quintessentially upper-class British childhood. Young Bolby hardly saw his parents and was looked after by a nanny who was let go when he was just 4, leaving young Bolby bereft. At 7, he was sent off, in line with the conventions of his class, to boarding school. He hated it and later declared, "I wouldn't send a dog away to boarding school at the age of 7. Bolby became a brilliant medical student and an imaginative researcher. When he was a consultant to the World Health Organization in the early 1950s, Bolby wrote a report, Maternal Care and Mental Health. He attacked prevalent assumptions and argued that kindness doesn't smother and spoil children. It's as if maternal care were as necessary for the proper development of personality as vitamin D for the proper development of bones, he wrote. This insight initiated a wave of reform. The visitation rules of many health institutions were reformed to allow parents to stay with their children, where they'd once been allowed only to visit and never touch. It sounds like a dry, bureaucratic move, but it ended countless afternoons of quiet sorrow and evenings of solitary anguish. In a book published in 1959 called Separation Anxiety, Bolby looks at what happens when there isn't enough of this kind of parental care. He described the behavior of children he'd observed who'd been separated from their parents. If the child is separated for too long, they still crave the attention, love, and interest of the parents, but feel that anything good may disappear at any moment. They look for a lot of reassurance and get upset if it's not forthcoming. They become volatile. They take heart and then they despair, and then they're filled with hope again. This is the pattern of what Bolby called anxious attachment. But the degree of separation from the parents may lead to another sort of problem. The child could feel so helpless, they become what Bolby called detached. They enter their own world to protect themselves and become remote and cold. They experience what Bolby calls avoidant attachment. That is, they see tenderness, closeness, emotional investment as always dangerous and to be shunned. They may, in truth, be desperate for a cuddle or for reassurance, but such things look far too treacherous. The focus of Bolby's thinking was about what happens to a child if there are too many difficulties in forming secure attachments. But the consequences don't magically get restricted only to the age of 8 or 12 or 17. They're lifelong. Our attachment style is fed by our earliest experiences. It's a pre-existing script that gets written into our adult relationships, usually without us even realizing that this has happened. In line with Bolby's views about how children relate to their parents, there are 3 basic kinds of attachment we can have to other adults. Firstly, secure attachment. This is the rare ideal. When you're securely attached, if there's a problem, you'll work it out. You're not appalled by the weakness of your partner. If your partner's a bit down, confused, or being a bit annoying, you don't react too wildly, because even if they can't be nice to you, you can take care of yourself and have hopefully a little time left over to meet some of the needs of your partner. You give the other the benefit of the doubt when interpreting behavior. You realize that maybe they had a tricky time at work. That's why they're not so interested in your day. The explanations are accommodating, generous, and usually more accurate. But there's another kind of attachment, anxious attachment. And this is marked by clinginess, texting and calling all the time just to check where the other is and keep tabs on what they're up to. You need to make sure the other person hasn't left you or the country. Anxiously attached people become coercive and demanding and focus on their own needs, not their partners. Anxious attachment involves a lot of anger because the stakes feel so high. A minor slight, a hasty word, a tiny oversight can look to the anxiously attached person like huge threats. They seem to announce the imminent breakup of the whole relationship. One feels, the reason you don't tell me that the minestrone soup I made is delicious is that you don't love me and are planning to leave me, when the true explanation may simply be that one's partner is mulling over a very tricky bit of news about a contract at work. Avoidant attachment means that you would rather withdraw and go away than compromise, get angry, or even just get close to another person. If there's a problem, you don't talk. Your instinct is to say you don't need the other person, especially if you're lonely. Avoidant spouses often team up with anxious ones. It's a risky combination. The avoidant one doesn't give the anxious one much support, and the anxious one is always invading the delicate privacy of the avoidant one. Bolby helps us to feel more generous and more constructive about what these partners are doing when they upset or disappoint us. Almost no one in truth is purely anxious or purely avoidant. We're just a bit like that some of the time. So, alerted by Bolby, we can see that a partner's apparent coldness and indifference is not caused by their loathing of us, but by the fact that a long time ago they were probably rather badly hurt by intimacy. And it opens possibilities of self-knowledge which can help one reform, if only a little, one's own rather eccentric behavior.
So the latest research shows that in the UK population, 56% were securely attached, 24% anxious, and avoidant, and 20% anxious. So, I would like us to understand those 4 attachment styles. So just to revise, the secure ones tend to be okay with other people, okay by themselves. They're happy in relationship, they're peaceful. The anxious ones are the ones who are mostly clingy. Why did you text me? You know, they don't want a lot of space or separation. The avoidant ones, they need a bit of space. Leave me alone. Don't overcome into my space, you know? And anxious ones are usually invading the delicate privacy of the avoidant ones. Then the disorganized ones are the ones who they show, sometimes they want closeness, sometimes they want space. It's a mix. I hope that by now you're starting to look at your own self in close relationship and are able to tell how you are, because I'm going to do a poll and see who thinks they are anxious, who thinks they are avoidant. I'll just like to say that if you remember what I told you about Bolby's discovery with children, we are looking at the same behavior now in adult love, that we are all seeking the basic things that a baby is seeking. Our baby has fallen asleep, but that child, just like they're seeking for closeness, proximity, that's what we are looking for as adults in love. When we are, sometimes we're feeling overwhelmed, we just need comfort, support, protection. That we will, if there's divorce, you're going to find extreme distress. We get extremely distressed. And that many of the things you're observing are just protests. You know, when someone is, but why don't you do this? But why don't you? There are protests for that attachment and emotional bond. So the whole dance of adult love can be understood through the lens of attachment. It has been said that the key to successful relationships is a secure attachment, period. Remember how I asked you earlier, what is the key? Maybe if they paid money, maybe if there's transparency, maybe if there is, maybe if there is. We've said if someone can somehow borrow, buy, or steal a secure attachment and put it inside of themselves, that is the solution. All these other problems seem to fade away. However, a secure attachment cannot be got by just reading many books. It cannot even be got by attending my talk, however much I would have wanted it to transfer a secure attachment. We believe that a secure attachment is an internal map that is built into your subconscious as you're growing up. And that you can, even if it's damaged, you can rebuild it, by spending time with people who are safe and secure. They sort of help you to rework that. But there are also exercises you can do to improve your attachment style. So, having said all that, normally when you ask people, how many people are secure? Everybody will say they are secure. But what I want to ask is, what would your spouse say that you are? How many people here think their spouse is going to say that they're anxious? Anxiously attached. I've seen 3 hands, timidly. How many people here would say their spouse thinks that they're avoidant? Avoidant? No, not even one? Okay, how many people would say their spouse is going to say they're fearful avoidant? They're hot and cold and hot and cold. Do we have even one person? Someone is shaking their head. What about those who are secure? Those who are balanced? I have 2 gentlemen. Usually it's gentlemen who believe that they are secure. But when you talk to the wife, you get a totally different. And that one is avoidant. He is really not bothered, not concerned. I don't know. So you see, these are touchy things. They're very sensitive things. And so I understand if you don't put up your hand. But I want you to do the work. So I'm going to ask you all to now grab your phones and go to this website. It's called personaldevelopmentschool.com, and you'll find a quiz there. And if you need help, If you need help, I can come and help you to find it. Personal. Yeah, okay. Evelyn has the link and she's going to share it on your forum so that you just click it and then take the test. It takes about 5 minutes or even less. 28 very short questions. It gives you a pair of questions. Don't personal development school, but she's giving you the link. So maybe you just get the link. Yes, the attachment style quiz. Don't overthink the questions. Just especially think of your close relationship, because we're not trying to see how you are at work. We're not trying to see how you are, in the market. We're trying to see close attachments, your intimate relationship with maybe with your partner is a unique bonding. It has its own system. So that's what we are examining. And if you're confused, just try to think, what would my wife say? Or what would my husband say? I am. All right, so I'm going to give you 5 minutes. When the first person is ready, just put up your hand. Okay, there are visitors who are not on the forum. If you put up your hand, I can come and guide you. It's Personal Development School quiz. Just begin. If you're confused, just think, what would my spouse say? Because they are probably seeing you closest. Just do your own test. When you finish, it will give you immediately the summary of your result. Take a screenshot, because that's not going to come back, that page. And then when you put in your email, they will send you a report to your email address with a bit of information. Jess is done. I had someone else's phone ding, which means that they got their result. Is that you? One more minute? Don't overthink it. There are 23 questions? I think there are 28 questions. If you fill in at the end, they'll tell you to fill in your email and they'll send you an, after the quiz, you'll. I hope we'll have a few people who can share. How many done? Okay, we have quite a few this time. So the result you get on your screen, that is your result. This thing is not an accurate science because, of course, you may answer. You got something? Immediately when you finish, the screen will show you a result. You take a screenshot of that. Did you delete that? And then, okay. Unfortunately, the email doesn't come immediately. It takes maybe an hour or so. But the results, does anybody have the result that came immediately after you finished? Okay, please share. Yes. 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 Okay. You can still experience difficulty. Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing. You have a different. Okay. What do you think her attachment style is? It's not that one. Okay. The gentleman over here, you have a result? Yes. Aha, that's the one that I wanted. The one where you get percentages. Yeah, but some are not getting that. But anyways, 20% fearful avoidant. Please, let's be quiet. 20%. %. 40%. Now that is more what I was hoping each one of you would get, that you'd get a profile. And how do you feel about the results? Do you feel you're more or less a secure person, but yes, you also have insecurities in those 3 areas? The curve fluctuates. Okay. Okay, good. Good, good. Yes, Mr. Corona. Okay, all right. And the wife? Okay. You also don't think that, you think is a bit more dismissive avoidant. Okay, his is secure and you feel yours is dismissive avoidant. Okay, okay, especially if, yeah, so she feels like theirs are correct. Yes, let's have us another person share. Yes. 10% fearful avoidant. 30%. 60%. And would your spouse say that is? He has a very wide smile and is laughing. I guess we shouldn't ask beyond that. Huh? You can give him the microphone if he has something to add. Yeah, the thing is, we are not 100% one thing. Even when you're secure, you will have some things that show up in the relationship, some degree of insecurity. So even if you got a result of secure, it doesn't mean that now you sit and do nothing about your relationships. There is work to be done. And let me tell you, the work that we need to do, I'm going to wait until people keep quiet. The work that we need to do is the work of becoming secure as individuals. If when your spouse is away, you feel you have an insecurity, let me break it down to you bluntly, you have an insecurity. And it's your responsibility to become more secure. Also, sorry, you have questions. I like questions. Can we start the questions or we finish and then we take the questions? Okay, shoot that one. Okay. Yeah. Yes, you might have a good question of, but the insecurity might be being caused by the other person, you know, thought. But anyways, also if you feel like your spouse is invading your privacy and you feel anxious about them invading your privacy, that's also a type of insecurity. It's just a different type, but it's also an insecurity. And then if you're really afraid to relate or get close to your spouse, like when they come, you're like shrinking away. That is also a type of insecurity. I don't want to get close to people. I don't want to get close to them. They might hurt me. I can give you money, I can give you clothes, I can give you everything. I can't give you my heart. That is also a type of insecurity. And there's work to be done there. There's healing that needs to be done. I'm going to skip a slide and just get into this. So all of us are aiming for secure attachment. Sorry. I know what to do, Jesse. You don't have to come to rescue me this time. We are looking for that thing as adults. We are looking to be relaxed and comfortable in company with loved ones. That when you're with your loved one, you're able to draw pleasure. Remember that child who they're with the mother, but they remain unhappy and dissatisfied? Do you remember that in the video? Some of us are like that. Even when you're together, you're unable to draw pleasure. So there's work to be done to become relaxed, comfortable, and able to enjoy our loved ones. Also, we need to become comfortable alone. Can you be alone and be happy? Can your spouse go away for a week or a month and you remain happy? Can you be self-contained and happy? And this is not a pseudo independence where you need no one. No, it is the one where you can enjoy them, that you can also enjoy time alone. Also, we need to be able to express emotions easily, express love easily, express, oh, I love you, and you don't feel like it's too much. But also having appropriate boundaries, that's another sign of secure attachment, that you can say, no, you don't shout at me like that. This is not done. I will not take that. I'm your wife, but I do not be shouted at, or I do not be thrown things. There are things which, boundaries. Seek social support and shares feelings with others. Again, you're looking for someone who, they have friends. Have you seen people who are unable to make friends? They are lone wolves. This usually happens mostly with men. That's a red flag. Eh? It's a good thing when a man has other friends. It's a good thing when a woman has other friends. And these are close friendships. But also, people should be able to seek for support that I can get. When I have a problem, I don't keep it to myself. I can ask somebody else to help me. Those are very critical things. Now, as I come to a close, I'd just like to say that one of the biggest things, as I was coming here today, I nearly changed my whole presentation, it's just that I didn't have time. The scripture that came to mind is that if you're to see the kingdom of God, you should become like children. And I was like, imagine that. So I've done a whole master's to just summarize in one verse. Maybe if I just studied the Bible, would have finished. But no. The Bible gives you certain insights, but maybe going to school helps you to unlock those insights. So becoming like a child, what do I mean by that? Children are so in touch with their emotions. If that child gets thirsty, the whole room is going to know. It's going to cry. It is thirsty. If the diaper is wet, you're going to know. All of us are going to know. If it's afraid of a stranger, you're going to know. The child is so in touch with its emotional experience. What has happened to most of us growing up? We have repressed our emotions. We don't even know when you're disappointed because you've repressed so much that we're in denial of our emotions. We've lost touch with our inner child. So the journey of coming back to be in touch. So normally when you come to therapy, we're trying to help you to become more self-aware. Now I'm feeling sad. Now I'm feeling disappointed. Now I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling elated, and giving you a new vocabulary for your feelings. But not only that, the bigger work is getting you in touch with your feelings. Secondly, children are brutally honest. Brutally honest. That food was bad, mommy. It was bad food at auntie's house. My son went to visit somewhere. Hey, it was in the States, and we thought, yeah, what is he going to say? He said, mommy, the States is good, the roads are good, but that house was disorganized. And he said it publicly, and we were like, oh my goodness. Children are just brutally honest. So sometimes in relationship, we need to become more honest, sort of pure-hearted, to be able to say things and not just cover, hide, secret. Those things are trouble. What else about children? Children are playful. They know how to have pleasure. They wake up in the morning and they're thinking, what games are we going to play? And as adults, sometimes we are thinking so much about the work and the cares of this world, we forget to play. No wonder life becomes miserable. How is a relationship going to work when you're stressed all the time? But waking up and planning for your week and saying, we're going to play like this, like a game of cricket, I'll take my wife out, we'll watch a play, we'll go and, maybe to an art gallery, or I'll go and sit in the compound, kachai tukanywere wano ku balcony rero, let's play some music when we come back. You guys are the same people who are young. When you were dating, there was all that going on. But then we somehow, as we get older in marriage, we forget how to play, how to enjoy ourselves. So I think spending time with children would be a great thing, because they teach us how to come into the now and how to play. Play with your children. Wake up that inner child. What other thing? These things I didn't put on the slides because they came to me, that become like children, to see the kingdom of God. The kingdom of God is righteousness, peace, and joy. You can actually experience righteousness, peace, and joy internally. You can internally, if you become like a child. You can experience righteousness, peace, and joy in your marriage if you become like a child in the marriage. When something is bad, you talk about it. And you don't dwell there, you solve it and you move on. So one of the biggest things is you have to learn to self-soothe. So internally, in all of us is trapped a child whose needs haven't been met, whose emotional needs haven't been met. And those emotional needs is what is playing out in the marriage. If you are neglected as a child, you fear that your spouse, when they don't bring you juice, that they are neglecting you. So you're reacting or responding to something that happened a long time ago. And these psychological tapes are the ones playing. And your spouse is thinking, why are you overreacting? I just went away for a weekend away to work. Why are you overreacting? What is so threatening about me going? Or what is so threatening about me playing golf, That we have needs that we don't express. That baby should teach us that we can express our needs freely. And I want you to become more aware of your needs, your longings for one another. Most of us, we are simply, when we protest, husbands, when your wife protests about you being away and being unemotional and all that, it's simply, I need your company, I need your attention, I want to be held, I want to be loved, I want to know that you appreciate me. Yes. That's the message they're trying to send you. We send it in the crookedest of ways, because we'll put on an angry face and slam the door and put on a tough thing and say, we need to talk. Your heart will go beating. That's what guys have told me, that when my wife says we need to talk, That is flattering. Like, what am I going to be told today? I'm going to be criticized. Exactly. But the truth is, the wife is protesting. Remember that little child? I don't know if you love me. I don't know if you will stay. I don't know if you'll go again. I don't know if you'll prefer somebody else. That is just what they're saying. That is the summary of the message. And then when the guys, what are the guys' biggest complaint? Guys, there are many guys here. Please help me out. That is true. You don't complain externally, but when you meet as men, you complain. Sex. Please help me. I know that there's some complaint. There's no complaint, really. Sorry? Please? You want to have supper? So the men decide, if you want supper at night, avoid the quarrel. You can help them. It's not sure that we can be helped. Maybe Mr. Corona can help me. When the men meet, of course not you yourself, you don't complain, but when the men meet, what kinds of things do they complain about?
You know, my English is not very good. I'll ask an English major. Uncle Tindo is around? Please come to my rescue. Since he hasn't had, another English major is Uncle Viraro. I'll ask our visitor to say something. Yeah. What?
Hope ladies won't take this personal. But one thing that men always complain about, there are those that they may keep quiet after talking about it for some time. But one is tidiness. Tidiness. So we all enjoy, that is one. Another one which is very rampant, I don't know why you men forgot. Time consciousness. That one is major. And then another complaint can be about maybe, he nailed it, frequent complaints. They can be complaints with supporting staff, the helpers in the home, complaints, too much complaints with the children, too much accusations, whereby at least when a man is home, he's not interested in hearing many complaints and quarrels from different corners. The rest, as far as I know, because I've been a church elder for some time, we receive this. As far as I know, men talk about it in prophecy. He can talk to you, please. I think this would be better this way or that way. without a quarrel. But at times I understand these ladies here, they put a deaf ear as if they haven't heard. And when it occurs more than twice, this man will seem as if he's avoiding it, he's not thinking about it, but he's hurt internally. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was a bit parabolic at the end. He's spoken in parables. May those who have ears hear. No, you don't want me to live like that. There's a lady putting up her hand. You wanted to say something for the men? What do they complain about? What about sex? Okay, this is the prophecy. Is that the prophecy? Yes. Not enough sex, not frequent, oh yeah, you know, type thing. Did you want to put your hand up? Mm-hmm. Right. Management of finances. There are men who are not happy with that. We overspend, we underspend. We are not spending the money enough. Yeah, those things happen. So you'll find that internally we have many complaints, but somehow we are not able to speak about them in a way that the other person understands. Mostly it becomes, when you even just give a couple 10 minutes, even now, if I say turn to your spouse and talk about this thing, you find that it will be attack, counterattack, attack, defense, attack, whatever. And the problem goes on for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. What research shows is that if the emotional bond is weak, those problems become perpetual problems. If the emotional bond is solved, the problems seem to disappear. So why do we spend the whole day trying to learn finances? If the key is the emotional bond. Just think about the love of a parent and child. Look at how parents love their children. If the child grows up and even murders, what's the worst thing that they can do? Is there anything beyond murdering? Can we think of anything? And the child ends up in Luzira. Who is going to remain on the side of that child? The parent. We will love regardless. Somebody had said unconditional love. Yes, unconditional love is the key, but the emotional connection. When we love people, we are able to tolerate anything, the world. Remember those first years when love is high? Pick me, I'm at Bugolobi. You're supposed to be, what's this area called? Manyangwa, Chimwani. I'll come. And then now you're like, hey, at this time, you're so far. You're too far. But somehow that time, it looked like no problem at all. It's just a few minutes. Of course I can drive there. Of course I can pick you up. The thing is that connection. And you people, that connection, that connection takes work to build back, especially when we've been badly hurt. In marriage, we can be badly hurt. Badly hurt, and our hearts become hardened. And sometimes our hearts were hardened before marriage. You were raised by a stepmom, and the heart was a bit hard. Okay, you fell in love, but then you found some other things, and now the heart is closed and it's hardened, and there's no empathy. What do they say? Namwesonyo. Closed chapter. We are there, you're like roommates in the house. Does his thing, I do my thing. Really, there's no love. Even when you have the prophecies, they are really dry, eh? They're very dry prophecies because that bond died. So we are trying to focus. The area of research in couple, marriage, and family is how can we rebuild that? Now, the first step, I can tell you, the step you can start with tonight is for yourself to understand your own woundedness and to start to heal your own heart so that your internal self is ready for connection. So I've written that book to help each person. I know not many Ugandans will end up in the office of Evelyn or Pendo, that you won't come to us. Although if you come to us, you'll have accelerated growth because we'll be coaching you. We'll help you to see things which maybe you cannot see because we've had years of training. We've seen many couples. We can help you to go faster. What would take you 5 years may take you 6 months with us type thing. So that's Kalango, but really it is to give you some basic tools. So we are looking to soothe that child. And in my book, I teach you how to do safe place, butterfly hug, how to do breath work, meditation, mindfulness. Some of these things you'll find, some of them will not be in my book, but there are ways to soothe that inner child. But the biggest one, which is not on that list actually, is to go back on the inside and meet it's like imagine yourself as a child. When you're wounded, imagine yourself as a child and go back and meet that child. We call it inner child work, and offer the child comfort. Just like we take a few minutes every day to pray, read the Bible, when you finish, you can imagine yourself as a child and offer yourself comfort, encouragement. It's also called reparenting, that as you parent yourself again, you start to heal your inner wounds. And that's a big thing. Unhealthy self-soothing. We all do self-soothing. Unfortunately, most of us do the unhealthy one. We go into alcohol, and yes, maybe Seventh-day Adventists, but not everybody abstains. So we may overuse alcohol, we may use drugs, smoking, secretive habits, gambling, caffeine, compulsive spending. Maybe the women are trying to fill a hole. When you have that hole and you feel lonely and disconnected, remember I told you that connection is important for your survival. It's important to you as food, drink, and oxygen. When you're not connecting emotionally, you develop a hole, an ache, a longing. And many women fill it up by eating. Men also, but mostly women. Sometimes we undereat. You feel like chaotic. I don't have appetite. I don't have appetite. I don't have appetite. I'm going to control what goes into my mouth. I can't control my husband loving me, but I can control the food going into, so we undereat. And sometimes we have bad sleep habits, sometimes we overwork, sometimes we overpursue education, sometimes we overwork, sometimes we underwork. Too much social media, you'll find social media, then fanaticism, religious fanaticism, sports fanaticism. All those are ways of trying to fill that vacuum. We're trying to fill the hole, but these are unhealthy self-soothing strategies. And they lead to harming your own self. They make things worse because if you get into addiction, and I believe nearly everybody has an addiction of some sort, a place where you keep investing even though it's maybe not healthy for you. So avoid those things. I'll just re-emphasize again, we are seeking, if you one thing is to try and get a secure attachment, try and just grow a secure attachment and grow out of your insecurity. And now again, I'll emphasize, research on couple counseling has repeatedly shown that the key to change a marriage is to improve the attachment between partners. Secure adult attachment creates individuals that are able to meet their own needs and also to meet other people's needs. It makes you independent, but also interdependent. You're not pseudo-independent. You're genuinely a person that can stand alone, but you're also a person that can depend on other people. Once you get into that space, your marriage is going to change. I have seen couples that come in on the brink of divorce, and as they change, as one person, sometimes only one person is unwilling to change. As they change, somehow the relationship changes. Even the other person who's not in therapy starts to change, and you see it's like a new connection. They almost go back into young love. They start to talk from the heart. You can see that they are connected in a deep part of themselves. That is what I'd like for each one of you. So thank you so much, and questions are now welcome. The first question was, would you get the slides? Yes, I can send them to Evelyn, and that one's done. Okay. Yes, sir. Don't ask me about her attachment style. I don't know.
Thank you for the presentation. There are a few things I thought you would speak about. Well, I normally listen to Radio 1 when I'm going to work. There's that session between, I think, 7:10 to 7:20. They discuss about relationships so much. And personally, I ever counseled somebody about what I'm going to talk about. A friend of mine called me when the wife ran away from home and she wanted to kill herself. But the reason was because of the ex. The ex used to call the wife all the time. And to make matters worse, the ex also was married. So I had to look for the wife in all corners. I got her and I took her back to their home. So we sat and the man told me his side, and the woman also accepted that, yeah, she was talking to the ex. So I had to pick a phone and I called the ex and I told the ex, please, you have to know this woman is married and don't call her again or texting her. Why am I saying this? It's becoming, I think, common. The last thing I listened to Radio 1, the man was complaining of the ex. The wife texting all the time to the ex, WhatsApp, all the time. So the man was like, I love my wife so much, so what could I do? And some of the people were calling in, they were saying, maybe you're not giving her enough time. So what do you say on that?
Thank you. This is a very interesting one. What is my say on the exes or on the man giving more time? On both. Exes. Can we put a law? Would you like a law to be put? You see, with grown-ups, you can't really do law. And laws don't always, I don't know what the word is. It's very easy to say, oh, never talk to, never whatever, all that. But there are people who have different relationships where they now became family friends and that type of thing, and life goes on. So I can't say that. I still think it's a symptom. It's a symptom of a problem. The infidelity is a symptom of the problem. I told you we can spend here doing law the whole day, studying all the different things, giving tips, but research shows all those are symptoms. The core thing is this: you're not emotionally attuned to each other. That the lady perhaps is inwardly suffering with their insecure attachment, and somehow they've failed to build an emotional bond. So however much we say, don't talk to this ex again, she can find another person. She can find another person. So I found that that isn't the most effective way. I know this is radical, and I told you I'm a Muchiga. I may not be of a Muchiga heritage, but I can be quite radical to say, yes, these are very painful things. Yes, we should deal with them. Yes, I could say, just don't talk to exes. But the truth is, you will not have solved the problem. The problem is deeper than that. The problem is the insecure attachment, the failure of the couple to bond. If they don't solve that problem, it's going to show up in different ways. Today it's this, tomorrow she's overspending, the next day she's suicidal, the next day it's what, and you continue putting out fires until you do emotional attachment. That is what the research, this is over 30 years of research. This is what it has shown us. If you don't build the emotional bond, you're going to be fighting fires and yeah. Yes? You're welcome.
I wanted to ask about, when you're getting married, they say until you and it's then that so the balance between saying security versus that is what is expected of me, or where am I going anyway, and the balance of I mean, the whole church knows. I mean, isn't it? I mean, so your packet, death do you part. So, so what is that balance in terms? Yeah, I failed to get the word for the other one because
I'm going to ask Evelyn to interpret that question for me because it had a lot of.
No, we're here discussing it together. It's a joint question.
I think it's a very nice question since we are Christians and we know that we're in church when you get married. There's that statement, till death does us part. And the church does not separate people at all. So the pastor will keep soothing the couple. Please pray about it. Stay in. You'll be fine. Pray about it. But when there is things are not working and the baby like, I have children. Now if I leave this home, we built it together, now where we I have to start again. So they are stuck in there even when the relationship is as toxic as you can mention. So yeah, like should they stay in whether it's bad? But the thing is, you should not separate. Like you have the church, what will the church say? They see Pendo walking away from the husband. Yes.
This is a very delicate issue because it's
and also I say that it is kind of like a forced attachment because you're married and you're not going anywhere. So you're, yeah, is it? Yeah, something of that sort. Is it the one?
Yes. Okay, the question is, I guess, what is the relevance of this whole idea of attachment? Once you went to church and you said, this is my wife, I am her husband, we are attached till death do us part. So, there's nothing much I can do about it. If she's difficult, that is it. If I'm difficult, she's stuck with me. She doesn't have a choice. So attachment or no, there is that union of church.
Okay, Pendo, what I want to say about what Elder is saying is that will not be the attachment that Pendo is discussing. That will be pseudo attachment, whereby I'm there, but you are not happy. Actually, the real gist of the matter of this session was how attachment theory and emotional connection, what it does to our relationships. If we don't have it, like we've discovered, some of us could have been hurt when we were children and we failed to resolve. This goes on, and it is affecting the very relationship. Yes, you might stay together because of the church and so on, but you are hurting. Then you are not happy. You are just in this relationship. So staying together and you're like two walls facing each other. To us who look at you, we know you are married, but you are hurting. But now what Pendo wants us to now learn is that's if you're still interested in this relationship and you want to keep it, you can transform, first heal yourself, the inner child, the wounds, the past wounds. And if you're not able, you could walk to a counselor's office, a professional counselor. Deal with these wounds. Then when you heal, you can even do now the couple therapy. Okay? Sometimes we come as couples, but individually we are hurt differently. So that hurting will be there, even if you're together for 30 years. And these things come. Okay, let me say, for example, have you seen people who are 65 years and they've been married for 50 years, but there's no love? But they are together. And people are like,
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Evelyn. And thank you so much for asking that question, because it helps to highlight what I'm trying to say, the message. Being together in the same house doesn't mean you're attached. Actually, someone was saying that Ugandans say that they don't divorce, but for them, they stay in the same house when they are divorced in their hearts. And it's possible to be with someone physically and your heart is far away and your heart is hardened towards them. What I'm talking about today is finding a way to resolve that hardness of heart and heal it and enable yourself to reattach to this person. That is the key to a successful and happy marriage. So I'm not talking about you're locked in there, but I do know that, yes, the church has rules, and that as Christians, we have said, maybe the Bible has said that do not divorce except for marital infidelity. I don't know what the SDA believes, the same. And although it doesn't say that every marital infidelity you run, it's like you can resolve the issue, and it's up to death do us part. And I sometimes want to ask pastors, people are divorcing over many things, and we are still making them say up, till death us do part. Why don't we become honest that it's not till death us do part? Why don't we actually say what we mean and mean what we say here on the pulpit? Are we mocking God? But that's another story. The truth is that there are people who are separating everywhere, in church and outside of church. Yes, there are those who are stuck, but I say, don't stay in stuck. Stay in and heal your insecure attachment. Even if your spouse doesn't want to change, you first do all the work that you need to do for yourself and tell me if that marriage will remain the same. Let us talk. After you have become so secure, let's talk, I really believe that there's something we haven't seen, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, what will happen when you become securely attached and healed. Other questions?
Thank you very much. I think the exercise we did was very good. And it is from that I have a question. Even from the video that we watched, they said the avoidant usually tend to relate more with the anxious. But a situation where you get the anxious are actually together and they seem to be doing perfect and well. So is there... So this may not be us. So if they're anxious, they both of them are anxious, and to them, from their personal assessment, they seem to be actually thriving well. So is there a possibility that if an avoidant meets an avoidant, they will work out well, anxious with anxious? Or if we are to change, we say secure with anxious, maybe the secure will support. So how is that able to work out? Then something else I've been thinking about, does this, I know we didn't talk about parenting, but does this, is it going to affect how we relate with our children? If I'm anxious, am I going to be, is it going to be transferred to my children? And do I hope that maybe later in future, I expect them to be, it's not becoming the genes being passed on, but I'm beginning to think about it. We tend to see maybe some parents, maybe who have that kind of attachment. Both of them are anxious. And maybe the children are taking up that. Is it from the way they are parenting? Or it's just that it's just coming up of, thank you.
It's a very good compound question. Thank you for asking it. Now, the anxious and anxious are happy together anxiously. I want to know where you are, you want to know where I am, and there are different types of relationships. When we study family psychology, family counseling, we find that there are different types of relationships. There are those which are close, there are those which are distant, there are relatives we've cut off. You have those relatives you don't talk to, you cut off. Then there are those which are enmeshed. Too close, the boundaries are not clear. It looks healthy, but it's actually an unhealthy bond. Many women experience it, and maybe even men. Mostly I've had women who say, I got married to this man, but he's too close to his mother. It looks like a good relationship, but it is enmeshed. Even the sisters, it is enmeshed. It goes a bit too far where each one is in each other's business, and there's a power thing that ends up playing into the marriage. So there's a closeness that is healthy. Even when they are anxious and anxious, I would still recommend doing internal work because it's not good. I wish I had a pointer to just point out. I'd skip this slide, but I'll come to it very briefly. So the columns are certain characteristics: secure attachment, dismissive avoidant, anxious preoccupied, fearful avoidant. When we are anxious preoccupied, the third column, second to last, that one, internally, we think that people don't want us, that we are not worthy of love. And it's a very poor basis to be clingy to your spouse on the basis of your unworthiness of love. I don't know if I'm communicating. You seem close, you seem clingy, but then it's coming from a thought of, I am unworthy of love, he will leave me, and therefore I better keep really close. It's still an unhealthy closeness. We think that this was brought about by parenting. We can't prove causation, but studies show that there'll be a high correlation of anxious attachment and emotional closeness that was inconsistent. The parent was emotionally close, but inconsistently so. Or else, one parent was emotionally close, maybe the father, and then the mother was distant. That's what we tend to associate with anxious attachment. The anxious person normally has a negative view of self and a positive view of others and puts them on a pedestal. So there's a lot of things that are wrong with the mindset. It's not a healthy closeness. And they can be aggressive and hostile. That hostility comes up every, the fights may be angry, and then the sex may be passionate, but then it has a certain strain that is not very healthy. And when it comes to independence, they may neglect their growth as individuals. So anxiously attached people tend to not develop as well in career and financially, they tend to have lower income, for example, because they are very preoccupied by the other person. They don't balance their own personal development. So it may look beautiful, but it's not healthy. They want to get close, but they want to get too close. They are unable to soothe themselves. And that's why they are using the other person to soothe. It's good to get the other person to soothe, but what if the person dies and she's going to just, what if the person commits adultery and you're going to just kill yourself, disappoint you? Human beings are going to disappoint us one way or another. They're not God. So that closeness is a delicate closeness. It's not enough. It is good to be secure. What was the second part of the question? Is the parenting, does our attachment style affect our children? Yes, it does. So when, sorry, it's an alarm for something that I don't know what it's for. So when we are parenting and you're anxious, it means you invade the privacy of your children and they may turn out to be avoidant. Or you neglect them, and again, they may turn out either avoidant or anxious, or you give the love, but it's inconsistent. Then they become anxious. They don't want you to go away. They're afraid. So again, for parenting, it's better that we have a secure attachment. It's the best possible thing you can do. So if you're not going to do this for your spouse, do it for your children. I know that most Ugandans, if you say this for your children to have good, that one they pay the money, that one they will do. If it's for the children to turn out well, that one the Tusula step, we are good. For the children, become securely attached. Thank you for that question. For the husband, we'll see. But yeah, they'll do it for the children. Most people will do. Okay, are we done? Looks like we are. One more question, yes.
I wanted to know about sometimes you can have arguments at home, of course, health arguments, let me say so. And your wife will always want you to go her way. And even when you are going to buy things in the shop, she wants to at the supermarket, which sometimes you don't want. So how do you gauge on that?
That is a very common phenomenon, and I hear the men saying, aha. Huh? Why do the women want things their way? Sometimes it's the men, by the way. Sometimes it's the men, but many times the woman. That in summary, and I can't speak to every relationship, I don't know, but my thinking generally is that it's a control issue. That there's a woundedness. That person probably came from a degree of chaos, either child of an alcoholic parent or some other chaos in the home, so that they now need a great degree of certainty, a great degree of perfection, a great degree of accuracy, because that is how they get safe. And they can't explain to you the level of anxiety that is on the inside. Remember, I've said most of us have spent time. Someone has finally been understood. They can't explain to you their anxiety. So I'm telling you that when you come into therapy, these are the things we're trying to help you to understand that anxiety. So that instead of, why did you bring the wrong salt? I told you not to go to that supermarket. Now you see, you can say, I really feel anxious about wastage. I am anxious about things which don't, whatever. I'm unsafe in my body. Let me say, Evelyn said I'll say something about EMDR, and maybe this is the perfect opportunity. That many of us are carrying wounds, trauma, of not big wars. When I say trauma, you're thinking war, you're thinking rape. No, there's a trauma of emotional abandonment. Sometime in your upbringing, some hurtful things happen to you, and we are all wounded. If you're more than a few years on earth, you have some wound on your heart. Now, these things are the things that are playing out again and again and again. You'll just see in our behaviors. So Evelyn and I are doing training. You finished level 1, so you can come to us now, even though we're still under supervision, to help you heal those emotional wounds, because your nervous system seems to store, it's like the memory is stored by your brain, and your nervous system remains with that woundedness and pain and reaction to certain triggers. Uncertainty becomes a trigger for that anxiety. Unpredictability, disorder, and all that becomes a trigger for the chaos that I faced in childhood. And so they're feeling unsafe in their body. They're feeling unsafe in their mind. They're very anxious. Many women are anxious, and even men anxious and depressed. I don't know if you remember this slide here, that on an individual level, relationships have led us to a place of anxiety and depression. And this may be the relationship with growing up people, has left us feeling anxious and depressed. We wake up and you're anxious about the day when the husband says we're going to invest. You're anxious about that investment, anxious about money, you're anxious about the in-laws. You're anxious, anxious, anxious. Anxiety is one of the huge relationship killers. We are not feeling secure. So again, we are playing Ozanyiramo answer. We are still playing around the same thing, that if people are not secure, if they're not healthy emotionally, you're going to see many behaviors, but those behaviors are not meant to irk you. They're not just trying to control you. They're trying to control their environment and to feel safe, but they're feeling very unsafe. So what we want is for you to develop the language to be able to communicate and say, actually, I'm feeling insecure. Actually, I feel unsafe. So that you now start to reach out to you. So it's a journey. It's a long journey. Most of us are over 40 years here, or 30-something years. It's taken us so long to come to this place. And now, to get to the place of healing is going to take some years. It's going to take an investment of time to know yourself again and to speak a totally different language with your spouse. Instead of insisting that you go to the supermarket and buy this and that, to say, I feel anxious when you take the money. I feel anxious when you know, that type of thing. I hope I have answered. If you want to ask a clarifying question, you're good, Kale. Thank you all so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Bendo. Can you give another round of applause? Yeah, I hope we have learned a thing. How many people have, at least you've learned something about attachment, theory, and emotional connection? Yes. Please, this is like group counseling. Sometimes you're not touched as an individual. Individual counseling is tailored to an individual. So Pendo could have taught you here to open your eyes, to make you more self-aware. But if you feel that I think I have deeper things, they may not be solved now. So it's very nice. And now we've learned, today the world is learning that counseling it shows that you care about yourself and you want to heal so that you're a better person to yourself and a better person to other people. So I hope we have all learned. I've learned a lot myself. Thank you so much, Pendo. And I hope when we call you next time, you'll still come back. Do you love Pendo to come back another time? Okay, thank you so much. So we've come to the end of our learning and presentation, but we have something we want to share all of us together. And I'm going to hand over the microphone to to Patricia. She'll tell us about the next thing. Yes. Very much. I think I would rather have the.
Thank you very much. It was a very insightful, inciting. It was a talk that I think was trying to draw us, trying to take us back to where we might have, yes, where what we are suffering now came from. But the beauty is, she told us that we can still heal, and we have healthy marriages, healthy relationships. I am very happy. Actually, what interested me so much was the exercise. Though my husband is still not certain whether those were his results or not. But it actually spoke to me. It was talking about me. I don't know what you felt. Some of us may still be in denial. You actually looked at it and said, no, actually, this is not true. But it might be the actual you. So I hope all of us have to take a step in trying to make, remember in the morning that someone said we have to fight. We have to fight for our relationships. We have to fight for our marriages. And we are not going to do the physical fight. We are going to pray, yes. But now we've also added on to that, we need to get back to the emotional attachment. So feel free to approach Pendo and Evelyn. Me. Yes. So, and me. I know why I had reservations of saying me, but feel free to talk to any of us. And also when you see someone that is actually going through the same or needs some help, please, let's not focus on talking about them. This needs to end with us. We need to find something positive. We are actually breaking them more. So we'll bring them out and link them to where they can get the support. Remember, some of them are going through it and they don't understand. So, Pendo, thank you so much. And someone was asking, how much are the books? Oh, so Pendo says the book is at 40,000, and I think we'll be able to talk to her in case we need it. Elder still has a question.
I'm sorry, I was still contemplating your presentation, but my concern is that we are church members. When we are, since counseling psychologists are here, let me get your advice. Usually when people have challenges in their marriages, they approach elders, who are they approach pastors, and rarely do they go to, if in any church setting, by the time you go to a counselor, then you've chosen yourself. I don't think any church person will recommend you to go to a counselor. Is that appropriate, or you think they are ill-trained or prepared to assist people with marriage problems? And do you think their advice that they give through their experiences is appropriate?
Thank you. I have to be careful that I'm not upsetting church systems. The church has been here, it's an institution that's of value. It has been here many years. It helps us to grow spiritually, and they have rules and ways of doing things for a reason. But honestly, I think that even pastors need professional training and counseling as well themselves. And what I've seen, which I think is really almost best practice, is where you have both. You have pastoral counseling and then you have professional counseling in the church. I'll give you the example of Makere Full Gospel Church. The pastors there, well, when you come, they'll pray for you and all that. But there's also a counseling department, which they pay people to man. And they have internships and all that, so that you're getting all the help. As human beings, we are not just one thing. We are not just bodies and we are not just spirits. We are also souls. We have a mind that needs treatment. And that mind, God has revealed these things like attachment theory, which many of the pastors do not know. So I'm not trashing pastoral counseling. It's valuable because pastors know how to love, pastors know how to soothe, pastors know how to comfort. However, I think that you're old enough people to know for yourself, to go for counseling. And please don't come when it's too late. Most people come to counseling when it's a little bit late, when people have locked the door of their hearts and thrown away the key in the lake, and the key is impossible to find, So please come early. And if there are elders in here, I believe that they are, I think that I would encourage your church, Seventh-day Adventist East, is it called? East Kampala, to set up a properly constituted church office where you hire. If you can't afford to hire full-time, hire on a part-time, a counselor, professional counselor. And counselors have different specialties. You can have couple, marriage, and family person maybe every Monday. And Thursdays, you have someone who does children, and then you have someone who does general, so that people are getting appropriate care. I think if we are in a modern world, we need to become a bit open to the solutions that God has availed to us. He's not only availed things through spiritual, but also through knowledge. So I really think the pastors can do their work, but the pastors also need training. Makere Full Gospel is a good church to benchmark on. They make sure even the lay people are getting training from the professionals on a regular basis. And there are many courses these days, whether online or within institutions, you can do short certificates, at least so that they get a better idea. But and you may need someone like Evelyn to help and say, no, that one can go for pastoral counseling. This one, the suicidal and all that, no. This is not a prayer case. There is actually, you're supposed to have someone who's knowledgeable, who can distinguish between something that is a spiritual issue, something which needs high level. Some people, by the way, need psychiatrists, not even counselors. But the lay person most times cannot tell the difference, and you need a professional in the church to help distinguish. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we go into the cake cutting, the Family Life Ministries need your views. They have something they are planning to start, and it's for some reason. And some of the reasons is to help us grow together as couples, as married. We know that we have other families within the church, and we have different programs as per the families, and we have those general shared maybe duties that we share as families. But the ministry felt that we needed to have more touch as marrieds. We have a lot that we need to share, which we may not be able to share when we have one Sabbath in a quarter. Or even if we have it, an afternoon is not enough for us to share maybe what we ought to share. And maybe this is is leading to some of the couples to not to grow at the rate they should grow together. So we had a thought and we wanted to share it with you today, and we seek for your opinions. Please feel free to reach any of us and share with us your suggestions on how best we can do this. And so what are we planning to do? We plan to start the marriage fellowships. And I know when I talk about that, many are going to think about they are coming to my home to visit me. Yes, we shall come and visit. We shall have other reasons that will bring us. But anyway, how do we hope to take off with this? We thought we would divide the couples in this church into zones. So maybe we have the Nakwero zone, the Nsasa zone, and many other zones. But we hope to have at least 4 zones. So someone is going to say, you've talked about Nakwero. What about those in Manyangwa? What about those in Kabugu? What about those? So we hope that if you're closer to Nakwero zone, then you'll be part of that group. And so that zone will be tasked to organize a fellowship for the couples. And we hope to do this on a quarterly basis, looking at the different things that we have to do. So if the zone in Nakwero is organizing, the couples work together. And this is where we may need to look out for different things we want to discuss as couples. And you may choose to, you actually have to lead us through that fellowship. It will be obviously a prayer fellowship, but with more to learn to help us grow. So if a fellowship organizes and choose, and by choice, they call Pendo to talk to us, well and good. So this is what we had in plan, but we are seeking for your views. But we felt we need to grow together. We have senior couples. We have moderate, middle. Yes, and then we have those young couples. Both of us are going through the same journey. And we may think that actually the senior couples are doing much better, but actually they may not be giving us the example we want. And maybe we need to grow to learn from the young couples. So we felt that that sharing would help us learn from each other. And someone is going to say, you've left me out because I don't have a partner. When that zone organizes, you're free to come and join. But we will request that at least you have been in a relationship, you're in a relationship, or you're planning to get into a relationship. So that rules out the young ones. How we Yes, we have senior youth who are in, that's why I said if you're planning to get into a relationship. So if you're not in those categories, we will have other forums where we shall address your needs. So that is the idea. Please help us digest it. Please give us ideas and let them come in as soon as possible. Remember, the CAP meeting is coming. I will go. Are we going with our families or we are leaving them behind? We may be leaving them behind because of what we talked about today. So if we don't have an opportunity to address all these before the CAP meeting, after the CAP meeting, we can start this and then we start growing together. All that said, thank you very much for today. It was such a colorful day and it's all of you that made it colorful. I loved the colors. Thank you so much. Feel free after this to take pictures. Many of us would want to have an updated one. And some of us actually do not have, so maybe this is going to be an opportunity to have one. And not only your partner, please feel free to invite your children. Let them be part of the photos. Okay. So, you know, we've tried to update our album every time we have a family life Sabbath. So that is why we actually encourage you to take the photos. We want to see how we are growing in this church. If you came here last year and you didn't have a child, today we want to see a photo of your baby. Or you did have other people that you came with today, we want to see them together with you. So we are going to share something small. And I'm going to invite the Family Life team to represent us. And I will request, unfortunately, Pastor has left, but we are going to invite Pend also to come and join us. They are cutting on our behalf, but we are all celebrating what we've achieved today. I don't think we've all gone the same. Something must have changed. So I will invite them to come and join us. Pendo, feel free. Elder. And my dear husband. You're lucky I didn't say my dear sweetheart. Okay, I hope to count. Yeah? That's him. From 3 to 0. 3, 2, 1.